Hey everybody, welcome to Latched Mama Podcast. It is Friday here in Richmond, Virginia. The sun is shining. It's not quite warm yet, but it's getting there. Today we're going to talk about something new, and I would like to say fun, but it's probably not fun, although this story is having a happy ending, which is good. But we're going to talk about fertility today and how it's not always easy to get pregnant and some different struggles. And we're going to talk to Mel today, who's going to tell us a little bit about her journey to pregnancy. And I hope you enjoy it. You're listening to the Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's really fun to have a guest. We haven't really had a whole lot of guests lately just because of COVID. And, Lindy, who's our designer at Latched Mama, we've been getting together and doing a lot of podcast episodes. And Lindy and I have a lot of kids. Haven't really had any struggles in terms of getting pregnant. I have struggles sometimes holding on to pregnancies. But I'm so excited you're here because I know there are so many people out there who have either had a journey to pregnancy or are still struggling to get pregnant. So it's really nice to kind of hear how everybody kind of finds their way, to motherhood and the journey. So thanks for coming to share your story.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, the more you talk about it, the more you find out that there's so many people out there
absolutely
who have trouble. They just don't talk about it.
Yeah. And it's so many things about motherhood in general. And it's like what we try and do as a brand and a community is just kind of destigmatize so many things in motherhood. Because I think if you just, read the books or go online or look at social media, it always looks like, roses and unicorns and sunshine. And you don't always know the fact that everybody has a story, that they come to with. And, for every birth, there's a loss or there's a fertility journey or something like that. So
absolutely.
I'm excited you're here. So thank you.
Me too.
So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of your partner and, how you got here.
Sure. My name is Melanie. I'm 34 from New Jersey. Been married for almost 8 years. And my husband's name is Dave. And I feel like, we're just your average married young couple, just looking to have fun and just move on to the next stage of life for us was family.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it just didn't go as smoothly as we had hoped. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long after you got married did you guys start trying to start your family?
I would say that we started actively trying, anywhere a year to a year and a half after we got married, probably a year and a half.
So did you go off of birth control or?
So I hope it's not TMI, but we were never,
just,
as soon
whatever,
as we got married, there was no birth control. We had been together for a long time. Mm-hmm. We'd been together for years. We've known each other for 14 years.
Okay.
So we just knew for us, if family happened right away, great. If it didn't, that was okay.
So the actual trying was probably just watching your cycle, looking at ovulation and stuff like that.
Every single month you take those ovulation tests.
Yeah.
You take them for a couple days, find the perfect day. And then
so you were doing what everybody would say to do. You were
right. It was a lot of research because I had no idea. It's not like I ever had to track my cycles before.
Absolutely,
I was never actively trying to get pregnant.
Because your cycles we were talking before we started, your cycles were completely on point. Like they were regular.
I could count on them. It was the last Friday of every month. I knew when it was coming. So I never even thought about it. When you're younger, you just never even think about it. Yeah.
So you were ovulating, or the test said you were ovulating. You guys were having sex when you were supposed to be having sex.
Correct. Yep.
And the pregnancy tests were not turning positive.
Every month you got that negative, and of course it's such a disappointment. At first it was, I didn't think I was going to get pregnant the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, 6 months later, you're like, this is just the worst. This sucks. This is so sad,
Yeah. So you were probably in the age group at that point where other people were getting pregnant, your friends. Was your family giving you any pressure at this point?
I want to say, no, they were great.
Yeah.
And not that they ever intended to make me feel any type of way, but of course.
Yeah.
You have your aunts and your grandparents like, oh, when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
When are you going to have
kids? Because we were
kids?
Talking, you're the oldest of 6.
Yeah.
So I'm sure your mom was like, when do I get a new baby?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Every grandma wants a baby, a grandbaby right away. So you had people asking, and for the most part, it was just like, hey, so you guys thinking about kids? Very just casual. And then you get the other side where they're just way more direct.
Yeah.
And almost to the point of they're just oblivious to what they're even asking.
Absolutely.
Comments like, what are you waiting for? You're not getting any younger. You know, you're going to regret waiting so long to have kids. But did
you communicate with anybody that you were trying, or was it just more of like a private?
No, I mean, my family and I are super close.
Okay.
There is just no secrets at all. So, yeah, I told my sisters, like, hey, we've been trying for a couple months now. Nothing's happening. And of course, they're not doctors. They're like, oh, well, just relax. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the worst. Like, I wish relaxing would solve all my problems.
Absolutely. It doesn't work. Yeah. And so I'm sure you got a whole bunch of unsolicited advice. Like,
all the time.
Relax.
All the time.
It'll happen when it's supposed to.
Or even the comments
God provides,
like, are you
or
sure
whatever.
you're doing it right? I'm pretty sure that comes naturally to most people. I would hope so.
Oh, my goodness. So at some point, you decided it was probably time to get some help or explore what was going on.
Sure. I started just the easiest route, which was going to your gynecologist, just chit-chatting, because she can check you out. She can look you over and make sure everything's okay. She expressed to me that I was perfectly healthy. Again, I was ovulating. My blood work showed I was ovulating. There was nothing from her end that would tell her that I couldn't conceive naturally. And I did that for a while with her. Lots of just tests, blood work.
Yeah.
HSGs, which are hysteral cell pingograms, which
wow. I'm impressed that you just pulled that out.
Well, when you get 4 of them, you kind of start memorizing it.
That's awesome.
Had a couple of those done. Not fun.
So is that where they put dye in your tubes or your
It's your
uterus,
entire
or?
uterus.
Okay.
Your uterus all the way to your tubes.
Okay.
So what they're looking for is that there's no blockage in your fallopian tubes that would prevent you from releasing eggs and all that. And then I guess
it probably checks to make sure your uterus isn't divided or anything too.
Right. I forgot what that's called, like a heart-shaped uterus. Yeah. Which I do have a heart-shaped uterus, but that was not the issue. It was very slight heart-shaped. Did all those. They came back okay. One of them showed some polyps. Had to get that removed. They thought,
so you're still with the OB at this point. Okay.
The OB is like, oh, maybe these polyps are causing a problem.
Was that laparoscopically or was that just okay?
Yeah, super. Like, it's quick, not that painful. You have some slight cramping afterwards, not that bad. And unfortunately, the polyps are not the problem either. So at some point, you decided to move over to fertility specialists. How many years in were we at this point? I'm thinking maybe like 3 years at this point.
Wow.
Anywhere from 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
We tried naturally for, let's just say, almost 2, and then seeing the gynecologist for 2, and
because you were young.
I wasn't like necessarily in a huge rush. Yeah. And my husband and I were just having just a lot of fun, just being married. We were, young, still are young, and we traveled, had a good time, hung out with friends, made new friends because we moved, from New Jersey to Baltimore to Richmond. And then ended up in Cleveland, which is where I started my IVF treatments.
Okay. Or we haven't gotten there. You can't.
It's okay.
You can't.
That's okay.
You can't ruin the story yet. Okay, so we go to the fertility doctor. All right, what happened there?
A lot of blood work, checking you over. They test your blood levels, your different levels on certain specific days of the month to make sure you are ovulating correctly. So he kind of did the same thing that the gynecologist did.
Came up to the same solution that you were ovulating.
Same conclusion.
Check the sperm, maybe?
We definitely checked his sperm. We checked that twice just to make sure the numbers look good. And they did. So it was an issue on his end. But as far as I was told, it wasn't an issue on my end either. So a lot of times they just tell you, oh, it just happens. This just happens. Sometimes it just takes longer.
Can't even imagine how much what that feels like.
Yeah, it is. It definitely plays like more of a mental role. Like physical stuff I can take. Yeah. I'm okay with the constant blood work. I'm okay with the procedures and and these are like very invasive procedures, not just like checking you on the outside. They're checking you on the inside. So it's not very comfortable. So it just gets to be disheartening. You start to kind of start blaming yourself, and then you just take on a lot of the blame. Like I feel like I took on a lot of blame for it, like as if it was something I was doing wrong.
I mean, I'm sure and I have not been in your situation other than the fact that I've had losses. So I have had that, blame on my shoulders of like, hey, did I eat something wrong? Did I exercise too much? Did I, is there something that I'm doing that's not getting us to this goal that I have with my partner? There's always that stuff that you're internalizing. And we were talking earlier about like, he can get a sperm checked, and then at that point he can support you as much as he can, but it is all on you. Like it's on you to figure out what's going on in your body. And I can't, it's just hard. It's like just kind of the role of the woman from, kind of a fertility standpoint.
I mean, he did everything he could. He said all the right things. And
absolutely.
if I wanted him to come to a doctor's appointment, he did. It was never an issue. But at the same time, there's only so much he can do.
Absolutely.
And there's only so much like, oh, it's okay. It'll be fine. It'll happen next month.
Yeah.
Like after a while, you don't want to hear that anymore. Like, no, it's not okay. It's been 4 years. It's obviously not okay.
And you're always in your body.
Of
like
course.
You're always in this, like you're the one that walks around with your body wondering, what's going on? Why is this not happening?
Right.
And I can't imagine even like having a professional look at you and say, not that anybody kind of threw their hands up in the air.
Right.
I'm sure people were very committed to making it happen, but not having any, secure answers for you.
Yeah. That was very frustrating. The fact that they were just like, I got like both responses. It was either, well, we don't have an answer, so let's just go straight to IVF. Well, I was like, well, I'd like to find out what's wrong first, because if there's something wrong with me, it might affect my chances of having successful IVF cycles. So I got a little bit of both. A lot of times they just go straight to, well, we know this will just work, so let's just do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like that route. I wanted to make sure that everything was fine.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of made our process a little longer, was the fact that I didn't
just want to jump to IVF.
Yeah. And like, not to mention that like it's an expensive process. So you have to financially prepare yourself to be able to do this.
And you also probably want to learn about what's going on at this point.
Of course.
So if you're paying for IVF, that IVF has the most opportunity to work and to be good. So did you guys try IUI?
So yes. So at this point, the doctor told us, like, let's just try IUI, because at least it's a little more.
Let me explain to everybody what IUI is for this.
Yeah, intrauterine insemination. So
Okay.
you take the sperm and insert the sperm using a catheter right into your uterus on a day that your peak day, that you're ovulating.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be more direct.
Do we hyperovulate at all? I mean, do we try and make sure we're ovulating?
So you obviously take some tests, but they also had me on Clomid.
Okay.
I did a couple of rounds of Clomid. But I did find out after the fact, after I done IUIs, that the chances of IUI succeeding are not that much greater than natural conception, because it's essentially almost the same thing. It's just they get a little closer.
Okay.
So that's disappointing, because in your mind you think, oh, this has to work. I mean, how can it not? The sperm is literally right in front of
and
them.
literally they know you're ovulating and there's sperm and you're putting
Yeah.
them together.
It's like
Why
perfect
wouldn't it
timing.
work?
You have to go at like a specific time of the day. So we ended up doing 4 rounds of IUI. And it sounds like that can just happen pretty quick, but it's not that quick, because you have to do it on a specific day of the month.
Okay.
And then in between those, you get some blood work, you get testing. And if, God forbid, you have to be out of town for a wedding, or your husband has to be out of town for work, well, then that month just passed, and now you got to move. You got to do,
I'm
wait
sure
for the next
like
month.
your life was literally being run by your hormonal cycles.
Oh, absolutely. It started controlling our life for sure, which is not the best way you want to spend your time with your husband, is just counting the days and talk. Like it becomes an obsession, and you just don't want that for your life.
And I keep coming back to the fact of like your age, in the sense that you are younger. So probably everywhere you turned were pregnancy announcements. And just like from a marketing perspective, I know as like who we market to as a company, like I'm sure you were getting our ads. I'm sure you were getting like tons of different places ads, like, hey, are you getting pregnant? Come
social
shop.
media always watches you.
100%.
So God forbid I like Google something or I buy someone a present at Babies R Us. All of a sudden, it
feels so irresponsible to me. And there was a New York Times article about a woman who had lost her baby, and she'd lost it like at 12 weeks or something, so it was pretty far along. But she called us out in the New York Times, and I started laughing. I was like, this is really not the first way I ever want to have my company's name in New York York Times.
Oh,
but
wow.
she talked about the fact that she was just like, and then I turn on my computer and Latched Mama's advertising to me. And it was just in this big article about how we do follow people around the internet and how when terrible things happen, you know, it doesn't emotionally make us feel better. So I'm sure you couldn't avoid the fact that it was out there and it was something that quote unquote you were supposed to be doing.
Especially given that we were at the time late 20s to early 30s. So everyone you know is either getting pregnant, is on their second kid by now. Not everyone. I shouldn't say everyone because it's not everyone, but it felt like everyone.
Absolutely.
It felt like every single person I knew was getting pregnant so fast. And I'd like to think that I'm a pretty selfless person. But like when you're in the middle of it and you're drowning in infertility, it can be overwhelming. And while you put a smile on your face and you congratulate that person and you mean it, you genuinely are happy for that person. But then you kind of retreat into yourself and you think like, why can't it be me? Like, why isn't this happening to me? Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't understand why it's not
there's
happening.
Nobody, and that's the crazy part is nobody could really give you any answers. So you didn't have that. I can imagine that was probably really hard. Did you, so every IUI cycle, I'm sure you pulled out the tests and.
Yep. And it was negative. And, you know, they tell you to wait the 2 weeks. But of course it's like day 10 and you're going to take it because if you're pregnant, it should work by then. And it doesn't. It comes back negative. And you just start second guessing yourself like, well, did I eat the right things? Did I have that pineapple, like as much pineapple as I was supposed to have because they tell you that helps, right?
Am I on the right prenatal? Am I doing?
Did I push that cart at the grocery store and that affected it's you just get in your head and
it's so crazy. I mean, whether it's fertility, whether it's loss, whether it's, you know, somebody going into early term labor, like the pressure that we put on ourselves as females is incredible because there's nobody else that can take it other than us, you know? So IUI didn't work. Did you immediately jump into IVF?
No. So at this point we're 4 years in and we're obviously just over this whole thing. Well, we've been over it, but like we just kept on pushing through. So we took a little bit of time off, like I would say maybe like 6 months off and just tried to just think about something else. You know, just try to enjoy life, go out, travel, have fun with friends and family, just not think about it. Because what we were talking about before, something that is really important to me is my marriage and my relationship with my husband. If I feel like if your marriage is not solid at the point of you getting pregnant, like that can lead to other problems. So we just decided, okay, well, if we're going to start a family, I don't want to start it off in a state of us being stressed and unhappy or overwhelmed. I want us to be in a good place.
So I'm sure it was consuming your life.
Of course. It's anyone asks you like, oh, did you go to the doctor again? What did they say? What's
and then you have
on?
The hormones that you're taking, like Clomid and stuff. And you're probably feeling, you know, some of that pregnancy stuff that feels terrible. And then you're not pregnant. And so you gave yourself a little break. Hung out with your husband.
We just
remembered
hung out.
why you loved him so much.
Exactly. I mean, we had grown up together pretty much. So that was just like a big priority for us. And we talked about it. If either of us had ever felt any type of way about this whole infertility process, we would talk to each other about it. So
I feel like that's a great advice and great takeaway is that like if it starts to feel too much, like remember why
it's not
you're
supposed
doing
to
it
be
to
a
begin
job.
with.
It's not supposed to be like a full-time job. So then at this point now we end up having to move to Cleveland for my husband's job. And I feel like we were already mentally prepared to just move on to IVF. I mean, we had done everything else. Honestly, it was our last option. So we knew, get to Cleveland, find some doctors, and let's just move to the next step, which for us was IVF at the Cleveland clinic.
Did you have, I know we talked a little bit about the fact that they figured out, quote unquote, what was difficult or what was hard for you to get pregnant. Did you have that diagnosis before you went to Cleveland, or is that what they found in Cleveland?
So we went to Cleveland, and unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many doctors you see, how many times you do these tests, you're going to do them all over again because they need to see it for themselves. And in the span of 4 years, things can change. So went through that all over again, all the blood work, all the tests, took Clomid again, all of that.
Oh my gosh.
They looked at all my tests, looked at my medical history, and decided, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with you physically that we can tell. So let's just do a super in-depth, like genetic analysis. So they did that. And that was a process in itself because it takes some time to get those results. And they looked at me and my husband's genetics.
Is it just blood work? Is that?
It's blood work.
Okay.
It's a lot of blood work, but it's blood work. Nothing physical. So after we got the report from the genetics counselor, we found out that I had Mosaic Turner syndrome.
Okay.
Which the easiest way to explain it is you're essentially going into early menopause,
Okay.
which makes you lose your eggs faster, and the quality of your eggs deteriorates much quicker. So my egg reserve, which was much lower than someone in their early 30s, like 32.
I assume they had tested your FSH. Does it not affect your FSH at all?
So it does. It does.
Okay.
So the reason why they moved to the genetic testing is because they saw my levels.
Okay.
Let's say from 2 years ago. They did them again, and my numbers had dropped like way faster than it should for a woman my age. So that's when they're like, it's got to be something genetic.
Okay.
And then that's when they found out about Mosaic Turner syndrome. Yeah.
It's fascinating. So we talked a little bit about like kind of your mom and how that did your mom, she had a lot of babies. She had 6. Did she struggle at all getting pregnant? Or
my mom never.
Was she super young when she got pregnant? Or
I think she had me at 24.
Okay.
So yeah, young, but at that time,
So then if she had one every 2 years, I don't know if she
Yeah,
did, but I assume that's essentially, I mean, looking at my life, that's essentially how you get to 6. So
no, the crazy thing is my mom was done having kids the age that I am now.
Okay.
I am 34, turning 35, and I think she had her last one at 35.
Okay. So she could technically have the same genetic thing, but started earlier maybe, or?
So with Mosaic Turner syndrome, it's not genetically passed on.
Okay.
It is something that when you are conceived as an embryo, you already have this in your genetics. It's just you're either, with Mosaic Turner syndrome, you're either missing a part of your chromosomes or they're deformed or damaged in some type of way.
Okay.
So the difference between that and regular Turner syndrome is that you are completely missing a chromosome, and that is more serious than Mosaic Turner syndrome. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. Okay. So you got this diagnosis. How did you feel? Was it nice to have an answer? Were you scared or?
I wasn't scared until I started going online. So my first reaction is, thank God. Like, okay. Well, I think my first reaction was like, oh my God, is that really bad? They're like, no, it's workable. We can work with that. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I was at peace with it until I started doing research. And of course, like the articles are just always super negative. But we figured the doctor would have told us if there was a 0% chance of me getting pregnant. I feel like she would have told me. That's not what she said. So we were just going to rely on her and trust her advice.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you were also at the Cleveland Clinic, which I mean, is fantastic.
Such a blessing. Dr. Austin, she's the best. She actually just retired. But so she told us you need to do IVF. The quality of your eggs and your numbers, it will not work naturally. Which was fine with us. Okay.
Because you were kind of there.
Yeah,
but it was really cool because you had taken your time with the journey to try and get an answer to why you needed to be there, which I think is great. And I think advocating for yourself and, researching and showing up, I think is such an important thing. And
absolutely.
And it's an important lesson to learn, whatever stage of motherhood.
And I feel like the big thing with me and my husband, that conversation that we kept on having is I don't know why there's such like a stigma with IVF. I feel like people are like, well, it's just not natural. It's like you're playing God and science is getting involved. But like to each his own, just, keep your comments to yourself because it can be very damaging to someone, especially if you're a person who conceived naturally and you have 3 kids, you just wouldn't know the struggle that someone's going through. So we were just kind of a little worried that some people might pass judgment on our decision to move on with IVF. But at the end of the day, it's our relationship, our marriage, our family. Yep. And it doesn't matter how your child comes into the world, whether it's natural, IVF, adoption, surrogacy. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. It's your family. Absolutely. Whether it's blood related or not, it's yours.
So you guys moved back to New Jersey to do IVF.
Yeah. We moved back to New Jersey for a number of reasons, job related. Our family was all there. So we figured if we're going to start this journey, let's start it at home.
So at this point, had you paid thousands of dollars out of pocket, or had most of the stuff been covered, or?
Well, we're super blessed to have great insurance. So luckily we, a lot of it was covered, especially these exploratory procedures are covered. But yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. I've never gone back and done the math,
Yeah.
but by the time we got to, let's just say before IVF, it's been 4 years, 5 years almost, for sure. I'm sure we've spent thousands of dollars, which is not easy. It's a lot of saving, you know,
but it was
credit cards and paying them off.
But it's something that's important to you guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
So did you find a good doctor in New Jersey? Like, were you excited?
I don't even know. It's kind of crazy. Actually, I do know how I found this doctor. My sister at the time, I won't go into too much detail about her personal life. She's pregnant and she's due in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing.
She had some complications, very minor complications. And she is very much about research and knowledge.
Yeah.
And she's been like that her whole life. She had gone to this doctor, to this IVF doctor. And I was like, well, if it's good enough for my sister, it's good enough for me. And she is the best doctor. Love her. It's
awesome.
Cried the day I had to leave her. Didn't want to leave her.
I was gonna.
She's the best.
Okay, so hold on. We got to get to the end before we talk about these relationships along the way. But so I assume you were able to just say, "Hey, here's all of this stuff that I've been working on in the last 5 years. I guess we're at this point. Like, we need to do IVF. Here it is. Like, can we bypass a lot of these tests and stuff, and can we just get started?" Is that
right? Absolutely. So this doctor is not like just a fertility specialist. She is there to do IVF. It's what they do.
Okay.
So we knew going in there, well, we had already been told IVF was their only option. So we knew that we're going in there to get information on IVF and whether even IVF would guarantee us a baby, because there's never any guarantees. Went there, and I feel like the doctors always try to be conservative. They don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But she was great, super positive. Like, let's just do this. Let's just give it a try.
So you did a few egg retrievals prior to implantation because you wanted to get ahead of the Mosaic Turner syndrome, correct?
Yeah. So because you lose your eggs faster and the quality deteriorates quicker, you can't wait. You don't have the luxury of going through one IVF cycle and then doing the transplant and then carrying the pregnancy, giving birth, and then going back for a second IVF cycle, because there's no guarantees that you can have any healthy eggs left. So we did embryo banking, which is you just do as many IVF cycles as you can or have to until you are happy with the number of embryos you have. Got it.
So you came up with how many?
6. So we did 3 cycles.
Okay.
And we got a good amount of eggs, but let's just say, I think we got anywhere from 5 to 7 each cycle. Okay. But we only got 2 healthy embryos out of each cycle.
Okay. So you have 6.
6.
And 1 is inside of you currently?
Yeah, I'm currently pregnant, 13 weeks today.
Yay,
healthy baby. Yeah, everything's been perfect, thank God. Even if it wasn't, I would never complain.
What, tell me what it was like after you, I guess the whole IVF cycle happened and did you wait 10 days to take your test, or did you wait?
I did. Well, so it's a little different because this is already, it's an embryo. So you don't have to wait.
Did you pick the gender, or did you, how does that work?
We did pick the gender, but we haven't told what we picked.
That's fine. You don't need to tell anybody. But they give you that option, or? They
do. So because of my Mosaic Turner syndrome, we also had to do genetic testing on all the embryos to make sure that there was no issues with the chromosomes. So with that test, you also find out the gender. Yeah. So we weren't going to find out the gender, but I was sitting, it was like 2 days before the transfer, and I had all these questions. And the doctor was like, I could answer all these questions for you if I could just tell you the gender. I was like, no, don't tell me. And I kept on asking her questions. Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't answer this.
So did she pick the best one?
Yeah, and the embryologist does.
Okay, so they picked the best one. And so it wasn't like, hey, we want a girl, or hey, we want a boy.
Well, that was my question. I was like, can I pick whether I want a boy or a girl? And they're like, yeah, I guess you could, but
we want to put the best one inside of you.
Yeah, we want to start with the best option. So day of the transfer, best day ever, super happy. You go in, it takes like literally 5 minutes. You go 5 years trying to have a baby, and you
get a little picture of it?
You do. So you're sitting there and there's a camera and there's like a TV screen in front of you. And the embryologist is like, okay, you see that little tiny little speck on the corner of the screen? That's your baby.
Oh my God.
And you just see it like floating around and it's like bouncing around the screen. It's great. And then 2 seconds later, they're like, all right, well, it's in you, so you can go home now.
So it's like 5 day, 7 day. What is it?
It was a day 5.
Day 5.
Yeah,
okay.
day 5 embryo transfer. It was a frozen embryo because we have to freeze them after genetic testing. We went home, and of course, I'm walking around with my legs like tight. I was like, I don't want it to fall out. But the doctor told me, it's not going to fall out.
It's so funny.
This was right before Christmas, the 23rd.
Okay.
So I kind of just laid
low.
Did
you take like a lot of progesterone and stuff? Like, did they get your body ready? Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I spent June through December doing nothing but taking injections. So you do the stimulants for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then you think your injections are all over. But before you do the transfer, you have to start progesterone, which makes your uterus like super sticky so that when the embryo goes in, it just
Did it make you sick?
It didn't make me sick, but like the injections are not fun. You do them every morning, and it's an oil. It's not like a liquid. It's actual oil. So you have to heat it up in your hands first. So the process is like your husband gets up, hands you the needle with progesterone. I usually would stick it in my like pajama pants, warm it up for like 20 minutes while he got ready, and then you do it. And you actually do it in like your lower back, like the upper part of your butt. Wow. So at this point, you've been doing it for a couple of weeks, and then you do that. But it was fine. It's not terrible. I think it was maybe like 2 weeks before the transfer or something like that. And you do the transfer, and
you stay on oral progesterone after that? Okay.
It's injections the whole time.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. You take progesterone till week 11 of your pregnancy.
Because that's when the placenta takes over.
Right.
And starts
Exactly. No, you're fine. So it was weeks. It was like 13 weeks of progesterone. So your lower back butt will never look the same.
Yeah.
It's like riddled with holes.
So you took your test on Christmas Day, which is a gamble of some sort.
I shouldn't have done it. I couldn't wait.
Did you feel pregnant at all? I mean,
No.
I guess
No, there was no, like they say, the implantation cramping.
Yeah.
No implantation cramping. Nothing. I wish I would have had even a little sign. But like you start like to really pay attention to anything, and you start like psyching yourself out.
Yeah.
Thank God it was Christmas, getting ready for Christmas, wrapping gifts, so you just don't think about it.
Oh my gosh. Was your husband around when you took the test?
No, he wasn't. He was, where was he? He was like working or something. No, it was Christmas morning. So I don't know where he was, downstairs somewhere. And I took it because if it was great news, then what better Christmas gift than a positive pregnancy test? Because
you hadn't seen one in 4 years.
And never.
It's so interesting to talk to somebody who's had a fertility journey who's never seen a positive pregnancy test.
Yeah. So I took it Christmas morning, and it was positive. And I think I took like 4 just to make sure, because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And then I got in the shower because I needed to calm myself down. I was crying, jumping up and down.
Hey, you hadn't showed him yet?
I hadn't showed him. I got in the shower because I wasn't going to take it. And I saw them on the bathroom counter before I got into the shower. Yeah. So I was like, oh, let me just do it. So I did.
Were you getting ready to go like to see family? Because you were in New Jersey.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were seeing family that night.
Okay.
Yeah. So took it, and I remember just being in the shower, just saying over and over again, oh my God, no way, no way, no way.
I love it.
Yeah, I was just freaking out. And then my husband came up to the bedroom after I got in the shower, and he was like complaining about something, like, my back really hurts. I don't know why my back hurts.
I love men.
Yeah, he was just complaining about some back pain. And I remember thinking, well, hopefully this cheers you up. And I passed him the pregnancy test, and it was just like an awesome moment.
Did he cry?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to cry for you right now. Like, it's amazing.
I won't say he cried. He probably wouldn't want me to tell people he cried, but he definitely got like a little teary-eyed for sure.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure. It was a great moment. Like I'll remember it for the rest of my life for sure.
So when did you end up going? Did you go in at 6 weeks, 7 weeks for heartbeat or?
Okay. I think it was 6 weeks.
Okay.
I went
so do you go
weeks.
get HCGs done too? Like, so
no.
Okay.
No.
So no serial blood work or anything?
No.
Just, okay.
Well, you do go get blood work. You go for blood work and you wait for that. And then if it's positive, then you go in for the ultrasound.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's so tiny at that point, you know? So blood work came back, and it's just so exciting when you hear the nurses who have been with you for so long. And these nurses get really attached to you.
Yeah.
They just are so happy for you. So when you get that phone call that, yes, it worked, and these are your numbers, and we're going to keep on calling you to make sure your numbers keep on increasing.
Did you go back and make sure they doubled?
Oh,
and then did you research like if that's where it was supposed to be or anything?
I definitely researched, but they tell you. They were so excited. You could hear like all the nurses in the background, your numbers are awesome. Your numbers are awesome.
That's great.
those phone calls were great. And then we went in, and
was there any talk of putting 2 in, or was it always just putting 1 embryo in?
So we asked that. Our doctor and actually I've gotten this from 2 different doctors. They don't recommend it, only because a multiple pregnancy is high risk by nature.
Yep.
So if you have the option of not doing 2, like this is your first pregnancy after years of heartache.
It's easier to carry one.
Let's not make it any harder than it has to be, and especially because I have a limited amount of embryos. So if you miscarry, you're going to miscarry both.
Absolutely.
And, which was fine by me.
So you went in for heartbeat?
Went in for heartbeat. The first time we went in,
whatever you want to call it.
You can see the heartbeat, but you just can't hear it at first because it's just so tiny. And it was a great day. It was the best day of my life. Like, I'll never forget it. Dr. Emily Holden, I'll miss her. She was just so happy for us. And then you graduate from your IVF doctor, and that's probably the saddest day. I didn't want to leave her.
Oh, does Dr. Austin from the Cleveland Clinic know you're pregnant?
No, she doesn't, because I didn't know. I got a letter from her saying that she was retiring, so I never told her, which is kind of, I'm thinking about it. I should tell her.
You can share the podcast with her.
There you go.
you can find her and drop the link to her.
Well, Dr. Holden, we keep in touch.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because it's so important that you're, I guess, cared for throughout the process. And you hope that, it's something we preach at Latched Mom all the time, that, if you don't feel taken care of by your care provider, go find another one.
Oh, absolutely. That's so important. I think part of the reason it took us so long is because we weren't happy with a lot of our doctors. They kind of either brush off your concerns or just want to get from 0 to 100 in a short period of time without even finding the answers. And I just didn't feel comfortable with that. I'd rather know everything.
Yeah. So, and I have no scientific backing of this. I've definitely not been through the fertility process, but I can imagine that there's a difference between dealing with the blood work number side of things and actually dealing with the whole gestating a human, watching a woman grow into motherhood. You know what I'm saying? Like there's probably more of science on the fertility side, and maybe there's less of that connection, or I don't know. I just think there's probably good doctors and,
sure. And it's also personality. Like, not that I need you to hold my hand, but I definitely need you to have some type of bedside manner. And if I'm going through this, I know nothing. Like, you need to rely on your doctor. So definitely you have to be your own advocate when it comes to your doctors.
It makes me really happy that you had a good experience and it was like joyful when you got pregnant and like taken care of and stuff. Yeah. How, so you graduated. So I guess, have you had your first OB appointment?
Yeah, I've had a couple. And unfortunately, COVID, does taint some experiences, but it's okay. My husband can't go to my appointments with me, so we FaceTime. But he did get to go to the first one at our first ultrasound with the IVF doctor. Good. So at least he got one. Yeah. And then after that, he couldn't go to the OB's appointments. Got to hear the heartbeat, which was just surreal. So cool. Yeah. Baby's looking healthy. I'm healthy. It's amazing. Measuring where it's supposed to be. Everything looking good.
It's awesome. So. You feel good? Did you have morning sickness or anything?
It's more like all day queasiness kind of thing. Like, I have to constantly be snacking on something. Yeah. I can't have full meals. I've learned like there's no such thing, like eating 3 meals. I have to just constantly snack little things throughout the day. But that was the worst of it. Maybe a little tired, the first couple of weeks.
Your body was probably so used to the progesterone at that point that you were like, whatever, I'm going to work through this. Yeah. Well, cool. Anything, like, what are your takeaways? Like, if somebody's listening to this and either struggling to get pregnant or in the middle of the journey or whatever, like, what, other than, I love the takeaway of, hey, if you have to take a break, take a break and focus on, what does bring you joy. I love that. I love those takeaways, but anything else that
takeaways, obviously, like, your own mental health is probably the most important. Take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
Don't give up, don't lose hope, and just, if someone says something to you that just like crushes your heart, just understand that they don't know what you're going through. Absolutely. They don't mean it. At least I hope they wouldn't mean to hurt you. Yeah. And just try to just take it on the chin. Yeah. And just, for me, it was a lot of praying and holding my friends and family close. Yeah. Having a great support system. Like, don't keep it to yourself. Actually, I think that's really important. People will, and that includes even like my sister experienced miscarriages. Yeah. I would say share. Don't be afraid to share. There's no shame. There's no embarrassment. I would say make sure you have a good group around you, because that'll make things a lot better.
And I can tell you that if you can learn that now before you get pregnant and then carry that with you through every bit of motherhood going forward, I feel like it's such an important, healthy lesson to learn, because it's your journey here hasn't been easy. And I can promise you, even if you like, once you hold this like beautiful, healthy, amazing child, like they're going to have to get potty trained at some point, and they're going to have to, going to have to do a lot of things that your little village is going to be super important to have.
Absolutely.
So.
And it'll all be worth it. And it'll be all the sweeter. You'll appreciate it all the more for it.
Congratulations.
Thank you
for sharing your story.
Oh, no,
Hopefully
my
it
pleasure.
inspired and helped other people. And I can't wait to see your little baby.
Oh, I know. Me too.
I can't wait. So thank you.
Thank you. Really
Bye.
appreciate it.